you're listening to Reviewing History, your comedy history podcast. I'm filmmaker and teacher Brian Rupert, joined here by...
As always, Stephen Evans.
And we are once again Aunt G-list.
Yeah.
He is currently on crusades in the Holy Land.
He takes watching these way too seriously.
Yeah, it's getting bad.
It's getting out of hand.
But we have guests here today. We have Gil from One Take Gil. I don't know your last name.
It's Gil One Take. Channel's name.
Gil One Take.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
What's up? And
All right.
And I'm Daniel One Take,
Okay.
Gil's younger
Nice.
brother.
welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you for
It's
having
good
it. This is my holy land here.
Tell
Tell
me.
me studio. Yeah.
Oh, the studio. I thought
Welcome.
in front of Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm more like Buddha. You know, you just see me, you rub the belly, and
When
Give
you rub
you
the
good
belly,
luck.
you get bad luck.
yeah. Well,
So,
welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
We met at Tell 'em Steve Dave, like their Black Friday event this year. And I've been waiting to reach out, and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I kept putting it off, and you actually reached out.
I was waiting for you to reach out.
Yeah.
I wanted to reach out, but I'm like, you know what? Let him come to me. And then when I saw it wasn't going to happen, I was like, all right, let's do this.
It was. It's just, I'm fucking so busy all the time. I was like, I'll do it. And then I just fucking kept forgetting. I was so happy when you did, though. So thank you for reaching out. And I suggested the Napoleon director's cut, and you were like, I did it already. I said,
Yeah, that was like, I think our second or third episode in our podcast.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do that since it came out. Like, I wanted to see it in theaters, and then I wanted to see the director's cut. And I'm dying to do it on our show, and I
I'm
just
so
haven't
glad
yet.
you told us not to do that. I'm so glad.
Well, I wanted to see the Napoleon director's cut for about 2 months, and then we did. And now the Kingdom of Heaven one, though, this has been on my list for about 20 years.
Really?
I've been hearing about this movie. You got to see the director's cut. It's so good. And I'm like, I'm going to watch that one day. And I'm glad this podcast has finally given me the excuse to actually do that.
He's wanted to do this for a while on the show, and we just haven't gotten around to it. I saw
Yeah,
this like in 2007 around.
Mhm.
So, I don't remember much of it, but I'm excited.
And
to
you
finally...
probably saw the theatrical, right?
I saw theatrical. I did not see the director's.
And this is one of those things people always say, like, you got to see the director's cut of this movie. It's so much better. But people say that about so many movies. Actually, we were just talking about another podcast, Hack the Movies. I was just on there talking about the Daredevil director's cut, which for years I heard people talk it up. Like, look, I know that movie wasn't good, but the director's cut totally changes it. Then you watch that and you're like, it is longer. That's the one thing I can grant you. But I always heard Kingdom of Heaven is the exception. That's the one where the director's cut legitimately makes it a better movie. Does it? We'll see.
Yeah.
I watched the theatrical.
No.
So I will tell you if it's
You
bad.
wait, you watched theatrical?
Yeah.
I texted director's
No,
cut.
you didn't.
Yes, I promise you I did.
That's okay.
I said Kingdom
Well,
of Heaven
I
director's cut.
read about it and I read what was in it and what wasn't. And I was like, oh.
Okay.
That's like the same.
The
Yeah.
thing,
Same thing.
the thing you yelled at me about Alexander for like
Well, some
30
people
episodes
can
ago.
read messages. Some people can. Maybe I can't. Whatever. That's
I
okay.
specifically said director's
I
cut.
texted him a couple days ago. I was like, remember, director's cut. I
See,
should've
he
texted
does
you, too.
reminders.
I didn't think I need to do reminders. I thought I was dealing with an adult that can understand Kingdom of Heaven director's
No,
cut.
Gil knows. Gil gave me a lot of reminders. He knows how to manage his
Wait,
co-host.
did you want me to
Some
watch the
people
good
don't.
version of the movie or the terrible one? I don't know.
But yeah, I read the same thing where it was like the director's cut was necessary. I was like, oh.
And then
whoops.
you chose not to.
I chose not to. I
Well,
was like,
I
I'll be
heard
the
that.
outlier.
Ridley Scott was saying that there's a 4-hour version of the movie that's never been released. He's like, that's the good version. Then there's the 3-hour director's cut. That's like the lean, mean one. Then there's a 2-hour theatrical cut. He's like, that is something else.
It feels so rushed. So
Why
that-
not just... So he's going to end up
Makes
doing
sense
an
now.
ultimate director's cut?
Yeah, this is Zack Snyder's Justice League. I mean,
Yeah.
Ridley Scott's Kingdom of
Of
Heaven.
Or his Blade Runner where there's like 87 cuts and it's like, people are like, Blade Runner's a classic. Which one?
Yeah, exactly.
Which one? There's
Are
this-
you a Ridley Scott fan?
I am a Ridley Scott fan, but I think he does have an issue where he's very efficient with his filmmaking, which is sometimes a good thing. If you listen to his commentaries, it's all about how I saved money on this, how I saved money on that. I think that's great. But I think where he's too efficient is with the script. Sometimes it feels like, okay, I want to make Gladiator 2. Get me a script. Okay, good enough. Let's go. Like, if you're going to invest time anywhere, invest it in the script. Make sure it's great and perfect before you turn on the cameras. So I feel like he's a great director. His movies are always visually awesome. Like you take Prometheus, visually stunning movie. Could have used a much better script.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think a lot of the time the scripts are what let his movies down, and it's not the direction. And it's like you just want those little tweaks. Like The Martian is one of his best movies in the past decade, and it's because it's based on a book where it's all like it's here, and it's like
spelled out.
problem solving, problem, and it's like that
Yeah.
structure throughout the movie. So yeah, that's a good point about his scripts.
Yeah.
But had no one here had seen it before except me?
Yeah, never seen. Didn't
First
see
time.
the theatrical or directors.
I
Okay.
wish I saw the directors. First time. I knew enough about this going in where I probably didn't have to watch it, just the movie itself, not the story. But I didn't realize how monumental this cast was.
Oh,
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. Like every single character was a heavy hitter. Every single one. They held nothing back.
yeah. There's really no one here that you don't know. Where you're like, oh, I've seen that guy before and stuff. You know,
Bashir.
Bashir from Deep Space Nine, Alex Siddig. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you guys
Yeah.
Star Trek fans?
No.
Okay. Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, I'm gonna mention it. I doubt they're gonna give a shit about that. Yeah.
I had to. It's
That's
brilliant.
strike one.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, you have to reference Star on our show. We just got to talk about a Star Trek actor if we see him. It's like the law of reviewing history. So, oh, by the way, we're splitting the episode in half. So at some point, the episode will end, and you can see the rest over on their feed. So
Well,
we're
if you
sharing
sell it a little bit better. Like this is a two-part
two-part
mega
okay.
crossover.
Yeah.
If you like, DC Infinite Crisis, whatever, this is like that level. So we're gonna stop halfway through at a big cliffhanger.
Yeah.
For part 2, you jump over to the One
And
Take
then
podcast.
we're gonna snap our fingers. Half of us are gonna get killed. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, we're not good at selling ourselves or promotion or any of that. So yeah, we just lay out the facts and we're like, yeah, this is where we are, and
This'll
you
work.
know, hopefully you check it out. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, we talked about Ridley Scott. Is there anything else anybody wants to say before we start to dive into the movie?
We could dive in. Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I did. Our co-host did want to call in real quick.
Yeah, he's
So-
he's the history buff. I
Yeah.
would say
So
encyclopedic knowledge off the top of his head. of
Oh,
history.
I have a feeling
That
he's
kinda-
gonna be unhappy with this movie.
Yeah, you could say that.
Anthony.
Yo, what up?
So I heard you're on a crusade in the Holy Land right now. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, I'm trying to retake Jerusalem.
Well, good luck.
Keep me in mind.
Steve is here, Gil is here, and Daniel is here.
Hey, nice to meet you.
How you doing, fellas?
Good.
We just started, but I thought maybe you could give us a quick rundown of the history in the movie before we begin.
Sure. So we're talking Kingdom of Heaven.
Is he driving?
Now, my
Is this
original
safe?
take on this movie, when I saw it in the theater back in '05, was that it's boring as fuck, and I actually fell asleep in the theater.
Okay.
I've since kind of forced myself to like it over the years. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I hadn't seen it recently. And when I rewatched it this past week, I now hate this movie with a passion. I hate it so much that I now hate Ridley Scott. By extension, I hate Gladiator 2 now, just because I hate Ridley Scott.
Wait, are you saying you hate Gladiator 2, the sequel, or Gladiator TOO, like you
Gladiator
also?
2, I don't even bother to acknowledge exists.
I apologize. That is a stupid question. I apologize.
Strike 2.
But yeah, this movie is an abomination. But let's talk about it. I think it hates Christianity and the Crusades out of some
Yeah.
sense of like moral high-mindedness. But to understand that time period, you need to understand about 500 years of history leading up to it. So yeah, let's do that. This takes
So you're gonna tell us 500 years of history right
I'll be
now?
back, guys.
While driving?
about 2 minutes. Here we go.
All right, 2-minute rundown.
So this movie takes place in between the second and third crusade. But you got to know about the first crusade because that's the big important.
Yeah.
Islam appeared on the stage in the 600s, right? It blows out of Mecca and immediately starts attacking its neighbors with massive armies. Now the Persians couldn't stand up to this. Well, I should say this: the Byzantines and the Persians had been at war for like 25 years before anybody knew who Muhammad was. They made a peace treaty, and almost like the day they did that, suddenly there's Islamic armies flying out of the desert attacking both. The Persians couldn't stand up to it, got conquered, and became like the new heartland of the Arab Empire. Byzantines, on the other hand, managed to fight them off a little bit better, but they lost Egypt and all of North Africa. Now, these were all previously Christian lands. Right?
Okay.
This includes the Levant,
Uh huh.
the area we're going to be talking about. So, right away, Islamic armies have chopped off roughly 2/3 of the Christian world.
Yeah.
They get all the way into Spain. They do the Battle of Tours. We talked about this many times on the show.
Yes.
I think it's like 870. Arab armies will invade Italy and sack Rome itself. They sack the Vatican. Well, what would become the Vatican? It's not the Vatican yet. So my point in saying all this is that there is a very long and storied history of antagonistic behavior on behalf of the Muslim world towards the Christian. This movie does not want to acknowledge that whatsoever.
Well, he's doing a 9/11 Bush parable.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
And in fact, I think the main purpose of the movie is it seeks to justify 9/11. Which I find
What?
disgusting.
I did not get that, but all right. What?
All right, keep going with the history.
So, right around 1070. I'm driving, so I don't have the exact dates.
I knew it.
Confirmed he was driving.
I knew, or he's on horseback. Depending on how he's getting to.
You have to add some
Also,
sound effects of
He's in a
course.
Toyota.
As Jews, I'm a little concerned about the fact that he's trying to retake
Oh,
Jerusalem.
you guys
right now.
you guys are tribe members too? I'm not outnumbered.
It's a first.
It's about time.
I thought you were going to be like, whoa. You have to disclose that
That's
before
strike
coming in
three.
here.
No, we're removing a strike. I have fellow tribesmen at the table. First time.
Oh no.
We're retaking the studio, boys.
This is the promised land.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, right around 1070, there's a key moment. Oh, I should say this. The Turks appear on the stage. So the Arab Caliphate has a lot of problems. You've got the Shia and Sunni split, which causes all kinds of civil wars and problems and
Till today.
rebellions for hundreds of years, and they're always putting down internal problems.
To this day, yeah.
The Turks are a new force that come out of the Eurasian steppe. They're an Islamic sect, but they end up kind of taking over.
You broke up. Yeah, okay.
The Turks end up trying to taking over most of the Arab world, right? They invade Anatolia, which is modern-day Turkey, and they absolutely annihilate an entire Byzantine army at the Battle of Manzikert. You can look up what year that was. I'm not sure off the top of my head. It's like 1070 something.
Around the same time that the movie is.
Yeah. This forces the Byzantine emperor to do something that he has not been able to do for the last 50 years since the Great Schism between East and West, is go to the Pope and beg for support. So the Eastern Orthodox Church, which is what the Byzantines are following, has a massive problem with the Western Church, and this kind of brings everybody together to say we have a real existential civilizational threat on our hands coming in the form of the Seljuk Turks. Pope Urban II has a big mass, and it's a very famous moment. It's called the Deus Vult Mass. Deus Vult means God wills it, which they love screaming in this movie. And this is the start. He calls for the First Crusade. Now, this is very, very popular all across Europe for a couple of reasons. One is just holy fervor. They want to take back the Holy Land.
Yeah.
The other one is that Europe is just coming out of the Viking Age. Now, the Vikings have been ravaging all across Western Europe for the last couple of centuries, and what it's done is militarized everybody. So all of these places like France and England and the Holy Roman Empire, Spain, they've all got big armies, professional armies, and no one to fight anymore because the Vikings have converted and they've stopped raiding. So they start fighting each other. There's all kinds of warfare, and they're very concerned with their soul, their eternal soul. They're terrified of going to hell. And what going on crusade promises to do for them is alleviate all of their sins by just taking up the sword, taking up the cross, and going to Jerusalem and trying to take it back.
Yeah.
So by the thousands, you have the common people outdo the nobility very quickly. There's really two halves to the first crusade. There's something called the Peasants' Crusade and the Prince's Crusade. Peasants' Crusade gets there first, and it's really just an armed mob that is unorganized and doesn't know what to do with itself, and just ravages its way through the Byzantine Empire, and they keep pushing it along to get further and further into Jerusalem, and then when it gets there, the Turks just kill them all. But then the Prince's Crusade comes up behind it, and this is run by the princes and nobles of Western Europe. And mainly
Actual
Normans.
armies.
The Normans are great at this. And they go all the way, they make it happen, and they retake the city. They set up a couple of Crusader states, and that's the state that we're in really 100 years on when this movie takes place. So that's the context here.
Yep.
Of where we're at when the movie begins. But the movie starts, and this pissed me off right off the bat.
Sorry, I suggested this movie. I didn't know.
And the text is like, I'm sorry if I'm taking
You might
over
kill
the
our
show.
friend. He might
I
crash.
was like, you said we have 2 hours, right?
Yeah, we'll extend it. We'll extend it. Sorry, he got going, and he's ultra Catholic.
Yeah.
So I think we just started him, and it's like a snowball, and now he can't
I assume
stop.
you're cutting all this out, right?
I'm sorry, I'll shut up. Does somebody else want to speak?
No, I wanted you to just be brief and talk about some historical
Well,
facts
I
of the
think
movie.
he led up to the start of
You
the movie,
got us to basically the start of the movie,
which is great.
But to
Right.
be fair, he did say, now let me tell you about the last 500 years
years.
leading up to this.
He told
movie."
us. He said in 2 minutes. It was about 10, but that's okay.
Do you have any other little factoids you want to talk about the movie real quick before I let you go that you think that we need?
Yes. Okay. Just, I'll comment on the film.
No, I just want historical
You
facts about the
twisted
movie.
my
What
arm
are
enough.
the little things?
Fine. Balian of Ibelin was born in Jerusalem.
Yes.
He's not a blacksmith. He's a noble. He knows how to
Yes.
fight.
Yes.
He was there with Balian, with Baldwin IV at his
And
great
Richard the
victory
Lionheart.
against Saladin. He successfully defended the city to the point where it was kind of a stalemate, and they let him and the people leave. So that's real. That's good. That was well done in the film. But his entire backstory makes no sense and is retarded. The movie
It's
is
a very
like,
different podcast from one take. Our audience is going to be like, what is this?
I'm sorry, I can't understand what anyone's saying, so I'm just going to rant.
Put the
The
phone to the side.
overarching theme of the movie. European
He's just going
Christians
for hours
banned
over
their
there.
rebellions. They need to be stopped. Islam is enlightened and wonderful. And it's our fault that 9/11 happened because of the Crusades.
I do want to say, I don't agree with that read of the movie.
That's what the
Just
movie
at least want
wants to
that out
teach
there.
We'll discuss it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks
The
for.
movie wants to teach you, fuck this movie, fuck Ridley Scott. Have a nice day. I hope you guys have a great show.
Thanks, Ed. Bye. Good luck on your one-man crusade.
Don't wish him luck on this.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we got that on lock. All right, we'll see you. Bye.
All right, now I know why. I have to say, too, I walked in. I'm so impressed with the professional setup. 10 minutes later, it's you holding a cell phone up to me.
We
Let's
did
get it.
have the ability to send it to the recorder, but we all would have needed headphones to hear it.
Yeah.
So, I was like,
Nobody needs to hear this. Let's
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
so I disagree with Ed's read that it's about how 9/11 was
is okay.
just.
But apparently, I think that is a good representation of a lot of people's initial reactions to the movie when it came out. And you can hear it if you listen to the DVD commentary. I mean, if you listen to Ridley Scott's commentary on any historical movie he did, it always comes from a defensive posture. Whereas like historians will say this, but I say to them,
Yeah.
how do you know that?
I say, shut up, nerd. I made a fun movie. Like, yeah, Gladiator's not accurate, but you can tell me
It's
that
cool.
doesn't kick ass? Come on.
He had on the commentary, the writer, William Monahan, Monahan, he starts off the commentary by saying, like, I know more about this historical period than any historian you'll find. He basically argues that he doesn't look at any secondary sources because there aren't that many primary sources that describe the time. So you can just read those handful and everyone's pulling from the same ones. So I will say, if you listen to the commentary, they do a great job of at least sounding very credible, where they sound like they know their stuff, and any deviations from history was very intentional, either because we want to make a more entertaining movie or because it's a movie, it's 3 hours long, you can't cover every intricacy.
Yeah, there's a lot of accurate shit in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, but then there's inaccurate shit. So like Balin is like Orlando Bloom's character is half accurate because like what
He was a
happens to him
blacksmith.
actually happens and all that stuff, but he was never a blacksmith. You know, he was never in love with Eva Green's character.
Mm.
But I mean, I wouldn't blame him if he was because it's Eva
It's
Green,
Eva
right?
Green.
So, but he actually married the king's mother and was was the king's stepfather at one point, which they don't cover in the movie. Yeah.
That would have been
Yeah.
confusing.
He wasn't a blacksmith, but he like it's not uncommon at that time for people to travel to Jerusalem to fight in crusades because the Pope basically was just trying to get as many bodies there as possible. And he's essentially is just like, hey, if you go there, we will forgive your sins. So, and it's like, he's like, can my wife be forgiven? It's like, yeah, sure, go. Just get out there, buddy. So
Yeah,
it's like,
go kill the Muslim people.
yeah, it's not uncommon for that at the time. And as far as like, the movie's clearly like done because it's the Bush era. It's 2005. So it's not, I don't think it's like 9/11 was just, but I think it's like
It's
setting the
anti-
table for,
It's anti-religious in ways.
it's anti-religious. It's kind of like the West was here mingling with these people and like there's a lot of Bush shit, honestly, just like about fighting in the Middle East.
But
you
I
know?
also don't think they portrayed the Army of Islam as good either. And if Ant's argument held any water, they would have.
Yeah,
you know, and they don't.
Yeah, the army of the Muslims, they had a good leader. That was the only thing. The leader who was trying to restrain sort of a violent horde.
which is the same on the other
Yes.
side. I mean, I think if you listen to the writer and the director,
Yeah.
Ridley Scott, William Monahan, they both at least would say we weren't thinking about 9/11. Whenever you could have, he literally says, if we made this movie 1,000 years from now, it would be the same movie. And I will say, if you go into the movie with that in mind, you see very intentionally that they try to show the issue is extremists on both sides.
Yes.
And so literally the movie is you have King Baldwin IV who wants to make peace, and you have Salah ad-Din on the other side who wants to make peace, but both are dealing with people on either side that are warmongers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's kind of like about, like the warmonger thing is great. It's like, it's about Bush, you know, going the Iraq war and all that. So like, there's some of that warmonger stuff that was heavily in the air in 2005. How old are you guys? Just
35.
Okay, so yeah, so you remember.
Yeah.
I'm
you're
30.
definitely-
I
Okay.
vaguely remember these things.
Yeah.
He's smiling and nodding like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Something
9/11.
crazy
I'm familiar.
happened, right?
Um, yeah, so you remember all this stuff. Like you
Yeah.
remember 2004, it was like everything was talking about, you know, the Iraq war and all that. So I feel there's some commentary there.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
just because you put this out in 2005, it's in the
It's
air.
unavoidable.
You know, yeah, you're gonna think about that. The other thing is that as far as the real history, Saladin, I have terrible
Saladin.
pronunciation. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say they have the one character, Godfrey's brother, who they're trying to portray as just like a jackass. And so he's like belching, mispronouncing names. He says like Saladin, and they correct him, and he's like gibberish. And now I feel bad because like I'm gonna try to pronounce everything right, but I know I won't.
I don't even bother. The audience, like, if you listen to the show, you know I butcher every
Just
name.
do it like they did in The Brutalist. Use AI to like fix the
Oh, yeah.
accent. Yeah.
Wait, they did that in The Brutalist? They used,
Yeah, they like just barely took what's his name, Adrian Brody's performance, and where his accent faltered a little.
They were
He's
like-
pushed it a little over the edge.
We
Oh,
could have
wow.
done that.
And he won Best Actor.
Yeah, I'll say I really like that movie.
I
And
didn't watch it.
I don't know the details of how they implemented the AI, but whatever ended up on screen, I thought was great.
Okay, so
Maybe we'll go back and fix your horrible Greek pronunciation.
yeah, I wouldn't mind if you fix him, make me not look like an ass. Yeah, but so Saladin and Ed Norton's character, I forget which
King Baldwin,
King Baldwin.
IV.
Alec Baldwin the Fourth. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
We just call him King Edward Norton.
Yeah.
Simple.
I just use the actor names in my head all the time.
Yeah.
Like Ed Norton, Eva Green. Yeah. Anyway, so they actually had a decent relationship in real life.
They
Like,
respected each
They
other.
respected each other. They had sent each other gifts. There was kind of like a mutual respect because
Yeah,
he
until
had
they
defeated him
conquered
years
Jerusalem.
ago. Well, he's dead at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, well,
Right.
Also, by the point the movie takes place in real life, Baldwin had been dead. He had been dead like 3 years. Like, yeah. So Baldwin dies like 83, and the time period of the movie I think is 1187.
84.
Yeah, the Siege of Jerusalem was 87.
Yeah. So Baldwin's dead 84, and then 3 years later all this happens.
Gotcha.
But there's some accurate shit, and I'll talk about little historical tidbits along the way that I picked up. You guys want to dive in?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So we go pretty much like important scene by important scene, kind of that way.
Perfect.
So
We do the same.
Yeah.
We usually go in reverse, though.
You
We
start
do
with
the
accurate-
least
do it
important
like-
scenes first.
Oh,
So-
I was going to say, we start with the end.
Our least confusing episode is Memento, as we go in the actual correct order.
Did you really?
No, I'm
Ah,
just
I was like, that actually would be a good idea.
well, that would be the on one take. The main thing I do is take confusing franchises and retell them in chronological order. So like the MCU. So yeah, Memento we can put on that list.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
So we
Did you
kinda
do
get
Tenet?
that, right?
I did
Oh.
actually. I did
Yeah.
do Tenet, yeah.
Jesus.
I almost lost my mind doing Tenet. It was the Charlie meme of like me trying to figure out. Even without the time travel stuff, the movie still, you're like, who is that person? What are they doing in this theater? Who are those people? And haven't even gotten to the time travel.
I think we saw it in theaters, got out, like, what happened?
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
what did we just watch?
We
Yeah.
asked them like, can you check the volume on this because they're saying really important stuff, but I can't hear over the jet skis.
That's Nolan, though.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Dunkirk.
Engines. It's very real. Thank you, Nolan.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for this amazing sound of your movie. I can hear no one in. Oppenheimer kicked ass though. Anyway,
Yeah.
so they give a little text at the beginning with all the background that Angie just spent 10 minutes talking about.
One
And
sentence. It was
yeah.
what they did it in one sentence.
Yeah.
100 years since the first crusade.
look, we're a history show. You know, he's gotta chime in.
Knight's returning home to get his son, France 1184.
Yeah.
And that's Liam Neeson.
And this is Phantom Menace.
I had that thought when he's training him with
Yes.
the sword.
This is
Yeah.
essentially
Oh my
Phantom
God.
Menace. He shows up to get a boy working like a trade job to train him in the ways of his knight sect as a Jedi. This is Phantom fucking Menace,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, once they were fighting over lava and he cut his legs off,
Yeah.
I was like, nah, this is ridiculous now.
Yeah. Don't try it. I have the high ground.
why is there
I
pod
also
racing?
was reminded of Batman Begins
Okay, where's that connection?
when they're doing the sword fight when
Yeah.
he's training him. It just
Mhm.
reminded me of when he's training
oh, yeah, we're
Batman on
talking
the
about
ice.
Liam Neeson was the one training him.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
So I was reminded of those two things, but especially Phantom Menace because it's the same thing. Poor local boy Liam Neeson shows up with his
Why is he
knights
always
to
training
train him.
people?
You know, I spent my
What's
whole
happening?
childhood hoping Liam Neeson would show up one day.
You just keep opening the door, looking outside.
So what we do on this show sometimes, I like to do Photoshop and I like to make pictures of. So just telling you, I'm making a picture of you training with Liam Neeson.
My
Your
dream
will become
Yeah,
a reality.
finally.
There's a tear in his eye, like finally. The way you set it up, like he's coming to find this like poor local boy. So that's I think one thing that is not communicated very well in the movie, especially in the theatrical cut. That Orlando Bloom's character is meant to be like pretty well off in that time. At least the way Ridley Scott puts it, is like to have brains, to have talent, to have your own land. Like that's pretty good. So this was not a character coming from nothing. And in fact, in the theatrical cut, it comes off as ridiculous because it's like you had 5 minutes of sword fight training with Liam Neeson, and now you're leading an army. It makes a little bit more sense in the director's cut. I mean, he's building the church for the bishop. Clearly, he's talented and knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it's definitely. It
That
still
makes
is
sense.
very abrupt because he has like literally one sword fighting
Yeah.
lesson. Like
But
you're
at
ready to
least
go
they
kill
mention
people.
He does have war. I mean, he fought in previous wars.
So that was so vaguely mentioned. I
Yeah.
read it after. I mean, that was the big thing for me was like, where did all these skills come from? Like he just shows up to his new like land and he's like, dig to get water. And he's like this genius.
Well,
yeah,
so
that's what I was thinking too. I was like, no one thought of that.
Yeah, well, so that's another. So it's so funny listening to the commentary. It's all defensive. He's like, a lot of people watch that scene and they think he's the first guy who ever thought of digging for water, but that wasn't it. He's the guy who knows how to build an irrigation system. But yeah, you see somebody dig for water and they're like, go get Orlando Bloom. We did it. So it definitely comes off that way.
Yeah, it's like the hero. No one else could have
Yeah.
done this.
Have you tried drinking the water? Wait, what? Oh my God, it works. I'm not thirsty anymore.
Yeah, that was a scene where I was like, no one thought of this. Like, so they're saying Liam Neeson's character was retarded then, because that's his land for like his whole life, and he never thought maybe we should try water.
Now, when you're holding your
Animals.
sword, you want to poke them with the sharp end.
Yeah.
Actually, the funny thing is, he teaches him how to use the
The
other
other
end.
way.
Yeah.
You didn't know what he was talking.
It's not just the
lift your
point, that's
sword
what-
up like this could completely expose your body.
Yeah.
I'm questioning everything.
Then you'll just kick ass everywhere. Just raise your sword up.
And we see
that's it.
him use that move repeatedly and it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it works
Well,
every
anytime he raises that sword, I'm like, oh, that guy's screwed.
Yeah. That's his like crane kick, you know.
Yeah.
That's his go-to. All right, so Neeson rolls up and he's like, I knew your mother. Basically, like, me and your mom used to bang, boy.
And when he said I knew, I was like, oh, biblical sense knew.
If you
He's
listen,
like, I fucked your mom.
He puts the emphasis on it. He's like, I knew your mom.
In the
What?
biblical
Whoa.
sense.
Yeah. It's like, oh, God.
Neeson.
You're very forward.
Well, are you going to say the specifics?
Sit down, son.
Many times over many nights.
Well, he also says how, you know, it wasn't forced, but she didn't really have a choice.
She didn't have a choice, but she was kind of begging
Yeah, the
for it.
way
I mean,
he phrased
look how she was dressed.
He said, I should tell you, it was against her objections, but it wasn't forced. I was like, that is straddling a line that I feel like only Liam Neeson with that commanding voice could say, where you're like, yeah, okay. And then let me parse the words you just said, actually. Hold
But
on.
he does say he treats it as a sin for which he is asking forgiveness.
Yeah. He's like, I owe you an apology. I think that might be word for word what he said.
Yeah.
It's okay, son. She liked it. It's
And like
jeez.
Ant said,
Oh, jeez.
he had lived with his father his whole life. He was born in Jerusalem. He had
Yeah.
trained there, as a knight with his father.
Yeah.
So this is all movie bullshit.
Nonsense.
But it works because they're doing Luke Skywalker hero's journey stuff. Sword in the Stone, King Arthur.
Yeah.
Boy from nothing to kick-ass knight.
Which really wasn't nothing. Like,
Well, it's humble
blacksmith.
beginnings to him leading
Yeah.
an army saving a city.
It's comparatively nothing. Like at one
Yeah.
point they asked him, like, what did you expect for your life? And he's like, I thought I'd be buried 100 yards from where I was
Yeah.
born.
Yeah.
And then he's like, where are you now? Looking at a king. You know? I'm just curious. So like I can't tell from like the way you guys I like this movie, like overall. Did you guys
You like this movie?
did you not like
I
it?
loved it,
Okay,
actually.
I loved it. Yeah, like ultimately.
I mean, I have criticisms and
Yeah.
I have some ideological objections, but also some ideological things I liked.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, I loved. I would have watched the 4-hour version.
You watched the oh no,
No,
it's just
you
3.5.
watched
Yeah,
four.
Yeah.
But there's a mythical 4-hour version
Right.
we're never
Yeah.
going to see.
We usually
In the
rate it
kingdom
at
of
the
heaven
end.
only.
We do it-
Okay,
we do
I
it
didn't
out
want to
of
spoil
10.
so I shouldn't have said that. I
No,
spoiled it.
you can say you like it.
We could
All right.
say
You can say I like or
yeah,
hate it.
we'll
but,
rate it
yeah.
at the end.
Okay,
But
okay.
I generally think it's okay.
Okay. I could see that because I do think like, this movie does not have, so you talked about like, the hero's journey.
Yeah.
It does not have the obvious emotional hook of like, if you compare it to Gladiator, where it's like, I want to see this guy go get revenge. And that's what you're waiting for. And that ends up tying into the grander story about Rome. But in this movie, it's like a lot more cerebral. It's like, I want to go to the Holy Land to absolve my wife of her sins because she took her own life and she's in hell. There isn't as much of the like thing to keep you engaged.
Well, the funny thing is, it's almost like he starts out religious. It's like an anti-religious movie, because he starts out religious, and then by the he's willing to go to Jerusalem to redeem his wife's sins.
Well,
he
it
thinks
depends
she's in
on which
hell.
version of the movie you watch, maybe. Because in
Oh.
the director's cut, there definitely is about 20 minutes where you would look at him as a devout.
Yeah.
Oh crap!
Like he goes to there's a
That's
point.
a huge problem.
I mean, we could skip to it. So he gets to the Holy Land after training with Liam Neeson, and he goes to like all the various spots, and he's talking to one of Neeson's boys. He's like, God doesn't talk to me,
Right.
and he's upset.
Yeah, he kind of mentions that throughout the movie.
Yeah,
where
but
he's not sure. If
The
God's
movie
there.
starts with him deeply religious, and then by the end, he's like, all the religions are the same. Let's tear down the city like brick by brick and like fuck you all, and like that's kind of the arc that he has.
Yeah,
almost.
the whole reason he's going is because he has sinned. He killed a priest, and his wife is in hell, and he thinks that he can be absolved of those sins. But then there's specifically a scene like halfway through, like you were saying, you actually hear the voiceover of him trying to speak to God,
Yes.
and God doesn't answer, and that's when he loses faith.
And he's like, there's like a burning bush, and he's like, I just burnt this bush.
Yeah.
Like this Moses bullshit.
Well,
you know?
and that's like this cerebral motivation is what I actually like loved about this movie, because ultimately it is a story. His motivation is to clean his soul, and it ultimately ends up being in a secular way, which I like. Like ultimately it's about him trying to be the most virtuous, to be a perfect knight. And I think you don't see many stories like that about somebody trying to be like morally perfect. And I found that extremely like motivating and unique.
I do like that as well. That's like the part of his arc I like. Again, I do think it's very 2005 though, where it's like religion is bad, man. So
Well, I think that it is 2005, but I don't know if it's so much anti-religious as it is anti-war, because the war with religion as an excuse is bad.
Yeah,
I think that's more of the point than religion is bad.
Yeah, I agree with that, and it's kind of like and it's the blind. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. It's like the dogmatic allegiance to laws. Where you're like, does that really make sense? Like, what is the grander ideal that's espoused in my religion versus this one law that says because my wife took her own life, she has to be beheaded before she's buried.
Right.
And then you have the bishop saying, like, there are some laws that even Jesus would not have followed.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were trying to be anti-religious. It's almost the same message as the movie. I don't know if you guys saw Heretic recently.
I didn't see it. I want to though.
Okay. So people at first glance will say it's anti-religious, but then first off, the person espousing the anti-religious views is the villain of the movie. But then you see it's trying to be more nuanced and sort of say there's sort of a more enlightened way to follow religion, which is don't be dogmatic about it. Right. Don't use it as an excuse to justify, atrocities and war. It's a fine line, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it. But yeah, I did like his character arc overall. I think by the end he's leading an army. I love hero's journey shit.
Oh,
so
sure.
you start a character in simple beginnings, and then by the end you have him like we saw him go through some shit, and he's like leading people. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm always there.
Motivational speech.
Yeah,
I'll ask this: was Orlando Bloom the correct guy for this?
This is hot off Lord of the Rings. I'm not
It
going to
is,
fault them,
but like even in his speeches, they don't feel powerful.
And when he gave the speech, the big speech in the movie, apparently he had the flu. And he hadn't been sleeping for weeks. And he's like, but I think it worked for the character. But I guess you would say, no, not really. I think if you compare it again to Gladiator, like Maximus, he was a very stoic character.
Yeah.
But he has, Russell Crowe has this like kind of charm and like charisma where even when he's not emoting or doing a whole lot, you're still like, I love this guy. Mm-hmm. Orlando Bloom, I don't know if it's the actor or if it's the direction, he was much more muted and stoic. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know, maybe if you had another actor in there, they could have brought something different. I'm not sure.
Because I feel like when you look at Liam Neeson's character, Godfrey, when you first see him and through his acting, it's like, this is a knight. This is a badass knight who's going to do the right thing no matter what and follow his own path. Where you have Orlando Bloom, who's coming up to be that. So he starts off with this more meek, like blacksmith, like I'm nobody. You want him to reach that level of Liam Neeson's knight. And I don't think he ever does. He fights like it, but character-wise, I don't think he does. It doesn't hit.
Neeson?
I don't know. That's how I felt. No, like Orlando Bloom's the arc.
Oh,
like
he
the
wanted
ending
Orlando Bloom to become
a knight.
Well, he lives up to the aspirations that he set to be a perfect knight by the end. He's saving all those people, and he's doing it for like their blood and earth reasons, not like the theological reasons almost by the end,
Yeah, but I just feel like Orlando Bloom couldn't pull off the same level of that strength that Liam
It's
Neeson
like the
did.
gravitas, like in
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, I wanted
right?
that.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of what I liked about the arc is it's sort of the idea of it. I don't know that Orlando Bloom really made me feel it as much. Like I'm just enjoying it. I'm putting it on him. But yeah, he doesn't seem like a Godfrey type at the end.
Well, let me ask you a question. What actor in 2005 would you replace Orlando Bloom with? Because
Russell
that's
Crowe.
roughly the
Russell Crowe.
roughly the
That was
same
one of
age because it's a younger guy.
How old is Matt Damon? You were talking about Matt Damon earlier.
Oh,
Today, how great
Yeah.
he
Matt
is.
Damon would
Yeah.
probably be.
Matt Damon
Pretty
would be
good.
pretty.
Has he
good.
done a historical epic?
DiCaprio.
Oh yeah, well, DiCaprio.
That's
yeah.
probably the
There you
move.
go. Now it's
That's
winning
the
an
move.
Oscar then.
Yeah.
I feel like
Um,
DiCaprio doesn't play. Well, no, he does play heroes. Yeah.
And
What are
Matt
you talking about?
Matt Damon was in the
He's
Ridley
always the
Scott
bad
movie,
guy.
See
Last
Titanic?
Duel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh, there's a historical
Last Duel,
epic,
Matt
yeah.
Damon. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's,
One quick note. So there's this guy. He's played by David Thewlis. He's the guy with like the black shirt and like the white cross on it. He's like a reverse
from
Templar.
Harry Potter.
He is in Harry Potter. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Lupin.
Lupin.
Is
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
the one that's giving him like sagely advice
Yes.
throughout the movie? The hospitaler.
Hospitalia. Yeah. So those guys basically started as like that group, Hospitaliers. They started like as like a private like aid group where they would go along the routes like on the pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Like they'd be set up and they'd be there and they'd give you aid and stuff and they would defend you for a little bit for like the next group comes. And eventually they just became like a private army, kind of like the Templars themselves, but they're more a little bit based on aid than the Templars. So, it's not in the movie, but
Nice
it's a
little-
historical tidbit that I felt like
Sort of side bit.
should
Yeah.
note. All right, so he's in Jerusalem now, basically. The knighting, we could talk about that. So, oh no, you know what we got to talk about? We got to talk about when he fights the Muslims and meets Bashir.
Yeah.
So he's he's making his way to the desert, and his boat crashes after he's in Italy, and he runs into Kevin McKidd in a cameo. That is Kevin McKidd, right?
It is Kevin McKidd from Rome. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever see the show Rome?
No.
Oh, the soldier.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
recognized him immediately.
Yeah.
I was very hype about that cameo.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, Kevin McKidd is here.
They do a great job when he gets on that boat. I'm like, I don't know how anybody survived traveling on water back then. And then he is the hospital. I'll just call him the
Hospitalier, yeah.
Hospitalier. So apparently the writer wanted him to essentially be like an angel or like the personification of God. And so he tells Orlando Bloom, if God has a purpose for you, you'll survive the trip.
Yeah.
And at the shipwreck,
He's the only survivor.
He's the only survivor. So there's nothing explicitly supernatural in the movie, but there are these moments that feel a little bit like, okay, that's God's plan. You survived this voyage.
There are a couple moments like
Oh,
that too. Even the burning bush scene
Yeah.
where it's like he's not looking, but the bush next to him kind of just lights up like almost like slightly magically.
Then the horse kind of freaks out at nothing.
Yeah.
So it's like, is he seeing the spirit?
Exactly. Yeah, I picked that up too. So there are like little sprinkles of stuff. I agree. But he survives the crash and now he's wandering through the desert and he gets to like a little oasis and he's drinking water and he finds a horse. And this is very Lawrence of Arabia, because the two Arab guys roll up and they're like, "Give us the horse," and
You're
he's
on
like,
my land.
"You're on my
I
land."
love this exchange.
Yeah, and he's like, "No, fuck you."
Yeah, why is it your horse? Because it's on my land. Well, I don't want to fight. Then give us the horse.
It's like, all right, well, we got to fight then. So the guy's running at him and on the horse, and this guy sucks. He has every advantage. This guy's been training for 5 minutes and he can't.
He had
win.
the higher ground with
Yeah.
the horse.
As we know,
And
when
he
you
had
have the higher ground.
He's facing a high stance. He'd never seen that before.
So he convinces him with, I agree, gets great tough talk. He's like, "Come down and fight me, bro." And the guy comes down and they have a fight, and it's pretty cool when he kills him and the blood sprays. And then he ends up, how does he tackle Bashir? What does he do again?
So when he kills him, I believe the horse runs away and he knocks over him.
That's what it is, yeah.
And he goes to kill him and he's like, "No, you're going to come with me now." And it's like, oh, he has like a cool buddy. This is going to be a buddy
He says,
thing.
"Take me to Jerusalem."
And then it's not a buddy thing. He gets to Jerusalem, is like, Get out of here.
That's
You
the
got
second time the movie did that, because at the beginning it feels like it's setting up like, okay, I'm traveling with Liam Neeson. I forget his name, that big strong guy,
Awesome.
and it's like the Dirty Dozen, and then they're all dead.
We lost everyone instantly.
It is-
Everyone you met.
It's crazy, like how much the cast changes throughout this movie.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I'm like 2.5 hours into the movie, and I'm like, Liam Neeson was in this movie. I forgot.
It's like, that's right. Yeah. Well, that's what they do in Batman Begins too. Like when you see it for the first time, you're like, Liam Neeson was there. And then he shows up in the last third act. You're like, oh yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, we lost a Viking guy, we lost a soldier guy, we lost a black crusader. I was like,
Yeah.
all these people could have been really cool characters if just 20 minutes extra. Just 20 minutes.
You could have had 20 minutes extra
Yeah.
if you watched it.
Was he knighted yet? Did I skip that?
He gets knighted before he goes.
Before he leaves.
Because Liam
yeah,
Neeson
off the boat.
is dead at this point.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So I do want to talk about the knighting scene. So he
Sure.
gets bitch smacked by Neeson,
Oh, yeah.
and that comes from. It's not really known because he's a French soldier. It's not really known if that was a French trait. And in reality, he was knighted in Jerusalem, so who even knows? But it's kind of more of the English tradition. It's called like Debar or Debir, something like that. And the concept behind it is you get bitch smacked and take an unanswered blow. And it's supposed to be the last time in your life you will take a blow without responding.
Which is kind of counter to Christian and Catholic
Well,
beliefs, isn't it?
it is, yeah. But I guess the
Right.
knights are its own
If
thing.
somebody hits you, you turn the other cheeks, they could hit you the other one.
Yeah.
Real confusing there.
There's a lot of confusing shit in the movie, but in religion in general. But so anyway, so that's why he gets bitch smacked like that. It's part of their tradition, and it eventually became like where they tap the knight on the blade on your shoulder, and it just transformed to that. But I kind of wish we still had that. Like the Queen is
Yeah.
just like bitch smacking people.
Bring it back.
Yeah,
Start bringing it back.
for
Yeah,
knighthood.
before we were allowed on the podcast. You should
Yeah.
start teaching
Yeah.
us.
You get knighted in the
Yeah.
the kingdom of reviewing history.
Every new guest that comes on is red
Yeah.
hair, looking down in shame.
It's the last blow you'll take before not doing a podcast.
But I like so Liam Neeson is half dead when he smacks Orlando
Yes.
Bloom, and then even later when Edward Norton smacks somebody, he's like on his last legs. And so I feel like Orlando Bloom, he never took a real shot. And then later when he's knighting somebody, that guy gets a nosebleed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's much harder than you got hit.
And they're about to fight for their lives defending Jerusalem. I'm like, did he really need to break this guy's nose?
That guy's going into battle with a concussion now.
That guy's gonna die of an infection like a week later.
He knighted like 70 people, but he picks this one dude
I
to
know.
hit.
Someone's got to take
Yeah.
the hit.
Yeah, I swear, if my bone marrow goes into my blood, I'm
Yeah.
coming back for you.
Also, I felt bad. You know, he was acting like he's gonna knight this kid, and then he ends up knighting everybody. If I were that kid, I felt special. You know?
Yeah,
Well, you're the only one who got the real ceremony, you know. So if you make
Yeah,
it,
you got hit.
that's true.
now I'm a knight.
If you make it, which he,
Wow.
well,
He does make it. We
he
see him
does-
at the
yeah,
end.
yeah,
I think.
Gravedigger doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Which is, reality is pretty close to what happened. So,
I
yeah,
think
but we'll get there. We'll get
Yeah. Skipping ahead. Yeah. Spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
yeah.
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
there.
Uh,
So we see that he's in Jerusalem. He lets his new buddy go. He's like, "Hey, take the horse, leave." And he says something important.
yes, this comes into play.
Yeah, he says like, "Your enemies will know of you before you meet them."
Your quality will be
Quality.
known among your enemies
Yes.
before ever you meet them,
There you go.
my friend.
And it's a testament of this man right off the bat. He's like,
Plus 5
he's
reputation points for this character.
Yeah. And then
plus 2 constitution.
yeah. And then he goes, he's praying around the city for his wife and all that. And then they have a shot of him just looking sexy in a towel. Because it's Orlando Bloom in 2005.
And all the women, all the female maids are like staring at him.
And that is the classic thing where it's like the guy wakes up surrounded by servants and they're all giggling because he doesn't have a shirt on. Like you've seen that in so many movies.
Wait,
they needed to have it.
Later on, though, when Orlando Bloom is like revitalizing his like town, whatever, and Eva Green is like watching him from afar, to have a woman watch you work like that, I found the movie very inspiring.
It was the equivalent of Mad Men, where there's like a plumbing issue, water starts spraying everywhere. Don Draper immediately takes his shirt off, and you see everybody in the room is just staring at him. And I'm like, I need to learn plumbing.
And irrigation.
Yeah.
Oh, generally things with moving water.
thrown about an aqueduct.
We need to make our wives sit here and watch us pod.
Right.
Don't talk.
Shirts
Just
off.
watch. Yeah. Oh no, I don't think anyone. Well, maybe you, but I don't think anyone wants to watch me and Ant pod without shirts on. Yeah. So he's in a towel. It's all sexy. And then Eva Green shows up, and
Sibylla.
yeah, and she has a bunch of greyhounds, which I had to
Yeah,
know.
it's true. Yeah. There's
Yeah,
dogs
I
running
didn't
around.
realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is where greyhounds. So there's two. I have greyhounds. So this is a tangent, but there's two schools of belief. No one knows where greyhounds really come from. Some people think they originate in England and they're like an English dog breed. Other people think they're the oldest dog breed and they originated in Egypt. And every other dog is kind of bred from them. And they're like the base level dog.
Oh, okay.
That's one school of
That sounds
thought.
like something a greyhound owner would say. Like,
Yeah, it
ours
sounds
was
like
first. They
horse
all
shit.
came from.
I don't know if they're like the basis for every other dog. I think it was probably like a wolf to a husky
Yeah.
and then other shit.
I basically have the Adam and Eve of dogs.
Yeah. But I definitely do think that the greyhounds are the Egyptian dog because when you look at like their statues and shit like that,
What about
it looks like a
Dobermans?
They
greyhound's
have that
face.
look,
You
yeah.
know,
It's like Dobermans.
I think no greyhounds.
'Cause greyhounds, their leg go out when they sit.
They were-
Dobermans are-
They were bred. I think
They're
greyhounds and Rottweilers were bred, and that's how you got Dobermans.
okay.
Yeah.
That should have been added to the tagline at the end of the movie.
Oh, a little
It's like,
greyhound
we
fact.
still fight for 1,000 years, and the greyhounds one day crossbred.
And then dogs turned into whatever those are.
Yeah, Frenchies. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Abominations.
Finally perfected the canine form.
Just can't breathe, big eyes. Perfection.
Yeah, it's when you think about dog breed as a tangent, it's crazy how like that should happen. Like we need something like really short with like a bunched in face so that they can get to this spot so we can get this particular animal.
That's like it was something going around on Facebook years ago where it was an advertisement where you could take your cat and shove it into different shaped vessels. So as it grew, you'd have different shaped cats. Everybody freaked out. They started signing petitions. It was never real. It was meant to be a joke, but everyone took it seriously. And they're like, what is this?
You know what's horrible though? There was a time in history where there was a group that would do that to human beings. They would grow children in these messed up vessels and bring them to like freak shows and stuff called the Compra Chicos. I think that's what it was. Really messed up.
Wow.
That explains
Not
what
to make this-
happened.
Well, that's kind of like, didn't the Japanese like tie their feet together? Japanese
The
women.
bind-
to,
The
like, make-
Chinese foot binding.
Yeah, it's foot binding because
Yeah, same
big
thing.
feet were considered
Gross.
gross and
Yeah.
and let's
Oh.
be real. I mean, they kind of
The Mongols did this too, where some steppe people, they would do head binding and it would give
Yes.
them these much taller, sort of almost like alien looking heads.
Yeah, like the back of their head would get
Yeah.
pointy. It was like Huns, I think. Would
And,
do it.
and that would be the equivalent in their society of being Orlando Bloom. Like it was very good looking, you know.
Look at his pointy scalp.
Wow.
Love to get me some of that.
We got to bring that back. I kind of like that.
But Eva Green's there, and she's insanely hot. She's going to do
Yeah.
Casino Royale in a year. So I'm a big Bond fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I could tell.
I forgot I was wearing the shirt. Yeah, anytime there's a little Bond reference, I gotta make note of it. So Eva Green is in Casino Royale. Vesper Lind,
She's great.
she's
great.
awesome.
And
Uh,
we have the hospitalier brings him to the marshal's office. And
Yes.
this is where you see like how chaotic Jerusalem was. They're just hanging Templars left and right in the square.
So here he gives an anti-religious speech, which a hospitalier would never do.
Yeah, I have
You
a
know,
feeling
he's-
Ant cringed at this part.
And it was probably like, no, like punching his TV. As far as the Templars being hung, it's an interesting thing because it's something that could have happened in certain regards. So it would be rare, but in general, they would need, because there's a peace right now. If they were attacking a thing that wasn't sanctioned, they could be hung. That's kind of
Right.
how it would have to happen.
Okay.
Which I think they do say in the movie briefly.
It was. I guess what's happening in the movie is the Templars keep attacking Muslim caravans.
Yeah.
Because they want to get the war going again. And so they're being hung, yeah.
And during this time, we meet the villain, Brendan Gleeson,
Reynolds.
Yes.
Renaud of Chatillon. So he's like the head of the Templars, and he's the one who's issuing the orders. Just go and kill these caravans and let's start this war.
And
up.
he's ordering them to build the Animus in like 1,000
and the
years.
Animus, yep, and he's jumping off the church tower.
Yes, exactly. Assassin's Creed
Oh,
reference.
it was slowly about to click.
The
You saw
Animus,
that
yeah.
glazed look in your eyes. Like, what's that?
Can I tell
I was like, maybe I didn't watch the right version of this movie.
That I love the first Assassin's Creed.
Mm.
I went through that game. I beat all the fucking Templars. I did everything. I got to the last boss on Xbox 360, and my game got the red rings of death.
Oh,
And
no.
all the data was corrupted, and I had every fucking collectible, everything. And in the middle of the last boss fight, I never got to finish.
That
the
was
game.
Renault's fault too.
I blame him. Yeah, the Templars just didn't want to go down. But in the movie, he's a really hyper aggressive dude, war hungry, and that's kind of accurate to how he is in real life. He did unsanctioned war events and things like that.
And Brendan Gleeson plays him as unhinged, like psychotic. When he's in a jail cell later, he'll just be like dancing around.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
scene where he's just kind of hopping around crazy.
Which, like, when I watch, I want to criticize, like, that's a two-dimensional character. But then we were talking about Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
And I was saying how the Emperor in that movie, or the two Emperors, like, they're cartoonishly evil. And then you started telling me some of the stuff they did in the real world. And I'm like, that's even worse than what was in the movie. So I guess I can't complain. But
Well, that's like the thing with in the first Gladiator, Joaquin Phoenix, his Commodus is way more evil in real life.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like there's an event where he took like I think it was like 100 or 1,000, some crazy number of like handicapped people and put them in the Coliseum with him and just walked around butchering all of them in front of the
That's
crowd.
bad.
It's like
That's worse than the twin emperors in the next movie. You were telling me one thing they did in real life. They would like walk inland and then demand fish. And it's like, well, we can't get fish here. But what he did is worse. I think.
yeah. All right, where are we?
You're at the when you meet Brendan Gleeson, you also
Brendan
meet
Gleeson, yeah.
Tiberius.
Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons. So I
He
was
is
like, how-
amazing.
He's so good.
so good in this. Like, how many people are in this at this point? I'm like, this is just
Yeah.
heavy hitters. And we find
Jeremy
out.
Irons, Batman v Superman. So there's another Batman.
Yeah, right.
connection.
Yeah. Batman v Superman. Also, he went to Orlando Bloom and he gave him a puzzle with a bunch of liquids. And he was like, measure the liquids. Put it
Oh
together.
my God. It's Die Hard.
Go, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go outside the city and wear this sign.
I'm gonna have sex with this German lady who doesn't speak.
I love the Jeremy Irons character.
He's awesome.
And I feel like normally in a movie, that militant guy, he's in charge of the army. He would be the one that's like, we have to go to war. He would be the bad guy. But to see that character constantly fighting for peace against Reynolds, who wants the war, that was cool. That was interesting.
Yeah.
He
He's
also kind of has a weird take on it too, because it's almost a reflection of what Orlando Bloom's going to become. He went there for this
That's
like
true.
holy pilgrimage and to fight and to be an upstanding knight, and then only to be disappointed where it's like, we're not fighting for religion, we're fighting for land, and this isn't what I was here for. And he even says like, God isn't with me, and that's like his whole,
Yeah, and he says,
his whole outlook.
yeah, I was like ashamed when I realized we were actually fighting for land. But then we tried to fight for peace. We tried, it didn't work. And then he gives up. And so I guess Orlando Bloom goes through the same journey, but he has a little bit extra spark in him.
Yeah.
And he keeps
Yeah.
going.
he's still young. You know, Jeremy Irons is like what Orlando Bloom would have became in like another 20 years in
Right.
the Capitol.
Yeah, Orlando
know?
Bloom's like, I'm going to keep fighting. And he's literally like, hey, good luck.
Good
with
luck.
that.
Yeah,
Give
yeah.
a smack on the back and leaves.
I'm heading home. Like, yeah.
But when you do meet Tiberius, he's saying like, hey, Saladin's got 200,000 guys on his way here. Like, war's coming, and you are sitting here slaughtering their caravans.
Yeah.
You're not helping with the peace
And
process.
he could win the war. And that's
Right.
like blasphemous to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Where are we?
Sorry, Ant, for my blasphemy.
Yeah. I'm sure he's listening to this and just like, oh,
Just
Air
fuming.
out, rip
Yeah.
his hair out.
Who invited
Uh,
these idiots?
We did skip over meeting Guy.
oh, Guy, yes.
Guy. I say Guy. It's spelled Guy.
Yeah.
I say Guy. It's,
Yeah.
Guy of Lusignan, I believe.
Guy de Lucien.
Lucy.
He's
Lusignan.
been saying
Yeah,
it
there you
all
go.
day, yeah.
Guy de Lucien.
Lusignan.
It's a great name.
He's kind of a dick guy. He's in line to become the king of Jerusalem, and he does not like.
All right,
Barian.
I got to talk about the historical shit with Guy.
Huge missteps here.
He's handled way different.
Why do they hate him in this?
He's very different in real life.
Hmm.
But there is some slight historical basis with him. So, I mean, as like possibly accurate. So in the movie, he's like a war-hungry Templar, and he was a Templar.
Eva
He
Green's
was a bit
husband.
more Here's the thing. He's like supposed to be betrothed to her, right?
Yes.
Because they're not really married in the movie.
Hmm.
In real life, so after the king dies, King Baldwin, is that
Yeah,
it?
that's right, yeah.
After Baldwin dies, her son, just like in the movie, becomes king for a bit. He dies, just like in real life. Now, there's absolutely no evidence that she killed her son, but he did die as after a year. He's known as the Leper King. So the crown then went to her, just like in the movie. Now, she was already engaged or married to Guy at this point, right? She was already married. So she makes Guy her king, right? And it goes back to Rome, and they're like, he can't be your king, but we won't send anyone to take the crown from you. You know, we won't like overthrow you. What we'll let you do is we'll let you be queen, and then you could pick your king.
Right.
And she convinces Rome of this, and they're like, cool. And then she immediately goes, yeah, Guy's my king. So like, they're like, what the fuck? That was like the one thing we didn't want. So they kind of let that happen. And some people suspect that that wasn't her idea. She was almost being a puppet for Guy. And it's like he had like these nefarious purposes. Now, Jerusalem, from what I've heard, would be more open to a female queen or female leadership than the rest of like Western Europe at that time. And basically, he's a Frenchman in Jerusalem. So people think he'd be like, I ain't fucking land this broad lead. So that's why they think that he may have been the one orchestrating things. And that's like, I guess, where the nefarious reputation would come from, where thousands of years later, Ridley Scott's like, guy's a dick, right?
Well, the funny thing is, Ridley Scott, so he says that we wanted to cast someone and have them play the role where you're kind of conflicted about the character. Like, he's kind of cool and charming. I'm like, he's just a jerk in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, Reynald is psychotic, and Guy is a power-hungry, just crazy person.
There's never a redeeming moment for him. Like, he's not so bad.
Yeah.
You know, IT Crowd, the boss in IT Crowd. It's not the same actor, is it?
Is it Matt Berry?
I don't think
That's
that's
what I
the
kept
name.
thinking.
But I got the
I
same
see there's
vibe of
definitely
like this
that,
kind of
yeah.
like big, like dumb guy who's just cruel and like.
And you know, I was reading it, and it's like, oh yeah, like she, like Scylla, never left Guy.
Yes.
They were together the whole time for the
Yeah.
Crusades, pretty much until her death.
I know-
I think she died at like 30.
Ridley Scott's defense on that point was that at one point she was told, like, you can choose who you marry. And she said something like, I'll let you know on, like, at some point. So they say, okay, if she said that, she must have had someone in mind. And then when she ended up marrying Guy, I guess it didn't work out. And Ridley Scott's like, hey, that could have been Balian, and he could have rejected her. And that would explain her actions. So sometimes they find an ambiguous gap, and they try to just put something in there.
See, that's wrong because he
Yeah.
was already married to her,
Yeah.
Well, that changes things.
to her stepmother. No, her mother. He's married to her mother.
Balian's married to her mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In real life.
Yeah. So unless there's some Springer shit going on,
Well,
you know, it's possible.
Ridley Scott, we should have talked to us first. We could have fixed the casting of
Yeah.
the movie.
But like you said, yeah, Guy is very much like Matt Berry. I had the same thought as you.
That's
I
funny.
know him more from What We Do in the Shadows, where
Oh yeah.
he has those funny line deliveries.
Yes.
Yeah. New York City. Yeah.
You almost devious bastard.
Um,
So Balian meets King Baldwin face to face. This is an iconic look. This is like top S tier outfits here. First off, the whole movie, the costuming and everything looks awesome, but this is like a step above. The mask, it's almost like a white gown. And it's like, wow, this guy radiates power, but like he's a leper. And it's the truth. He was the Leper King, right? So it's played by Edward Norton.
yes.
I wanted more of Edward Norton. He's so good, and I just feel like there wasn't enough in the theatrical.
There was definitely times I thought he was clearly doing voiceover in the studio after, and they just put it in.
So,
You know,
yeah.
like I don't think he was speaking on set like at all.
There were moments where I felt like he does a great job with the sort of softer degrading voice. And I think there were moments where it slips. He's like, "Welcome to my chamber. Now have a seat." Anyway,
Yeah.
I like that. I didn't know it was Edward Norton, and it does create this kind of mystery where I'm like, who's behind that mask? And apparently he wanted that. So Norton, by his request, was uncredited in the movie until it was
really?
released at home. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was hearing the voice and I was like, is that Ed Norton? I was like, and then I kept hearing, I was like, it's definitely Ed
Yeah,
Norton.
the moments where it slips, you can kind of hear him, but then
Yeah.
otherwise,
I couldn't. I knew it was Ed Norton, and I couldn't hear it the whole movie. I kept trying.
Yep.
It's like the red black dress, whatever thing.
Yeah.
Where like you're
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to see it that way, and I just couldn't.
Yeah,
That's
you
why
I don't
hear-
think it was.
I
right.
wanted
Here's some
more.
other color.
I wanted more Edward Norton. It, like
I think the
It's a
tip off
waste.
was when he started punching himself in the mask and throwing himself like on the table.
Brad Pitt was just kind of leaning.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you watch Kingdom of Heaven very slowly, there's little frames of a medieval Tyler Durden flat.
Salahuddin was not a real character. That was also Ed Norton.
They're the same person, yeah.
Good. That was good.
But this guy is, they mention in the movie, he defeated Saladin when he
At
was
16.
16 years
Yeah.
old, which was a big deal. 16-year-old kid defeated Saladin's army.
Probably
Defeated-
the greatest military mind of the Caliphate in 100 years. He defeated him at 16.
He defeated him at 16, reduced the army to 1/10 its size of Saladin's army. And Saladin had to flee all the way back to like far into Egypt to get away and like recoup. And it took him 10 years to rebuild the force that had been defeated. That's how like dominant that victory was, which establishes him as like, you know, he's the king. He beat Saladin.
Yeah. And over those 10 years, you could actually see he comes back very much more prepared. Sadly.
Oh yeah.
But I love
So, you know, I'll save it till the next part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I love how Baldwin is handled here. Like it seems like this is a king. Edward Norton plays him fantastic. But in the theatrical version, but Balian walks in and it's immediately like, you're gonna go protect people, maybe you'll protect me one day. And he's teaching like life lessons, but they barely said hi. Very weird. It felt weird and rushed. And I guess that's a problem with the theatrical. I don't know if it's the same.
In the director's cut, it's a little rushed too. Even I mean,
Really?
3 hours is not enough time. I think.
I think it is a little better, but it's still not much. Now, here's the thing. There's no proof that this conversation ever took place, but it is theoretically possible if you factor in the real factor that Balian was married to his mother, that
Yeah,
they
it makes
have a
sense, yeah.
familiar relationship. So in the movie, they're giving them the emotional beat without the actual real background. Because I guess it would be weird for the movie if Orlando Bloom gets there and he marries Edward Norton's like 40-year-old MILF mom, you know, like it'd be like, all right, this is a take.
This is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it needed more. And then we see what we mentioned before, where Balian now has like an entire acres of land, like 1,000 acres of land, towns all under his control. And apparently this was Godfrey's like vassal to the state of Jerusalem. Like he owned like a part of it.
It's his estate.
Yeah.
It's
But
like,
it's a massive estate.
well, you know, back then castles, like we think of a castle as like one big castle, but a castle was like one big structure. And then it had like a town back
Or two,
there
or
that
three.
people would work and live in
Yeah,
and
they were
farm.
saying there's like 100 people living on there.
Exactly. So it's like, it's not a plantation. It's like you get your own town essentially.
And it's the feudal system. It's
Yeah,
the same way the
exactly.
rest of Europe
Yeah.
was structured.
Yeah. I just wish I saw more of Balian adapting to that new life. Because he gets there and like we said before, it's like he's like king shit, gets a well, gets an octa, and there's no real arc of struggle there. It's just like he's good.
Yeah, that's where I think, especially the theatrical cut, and to a certain extent the director's cut, maybe doesn't do a good enough job establishing that he is that this makes sense for his character. And it's thematically it ties in because he has that carved in his house, that thing that was like, what is a man who does not make the world better? So that's in his blood, is when I see something, I want to find ways to improve it. So the first thing he does is help to build the irrigation system. And I love a good montage. It always has that shot of the person like standing there, like overlooking all the people working. Like, yes. But I agree. It's a little bit confusing where it's like, how is he so well adapted to this? Right. And he's supposed to be, but maybe it doesn't come across really.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the movie. He does it.
Yeah.
They get irrigation. No one thought to dig before.
Yeah. And now I'm assuming, so Eva Green is staying on his estate. She shows up and she's smitten, like we said before.
She knows exactly what she's
checking
doing.
him out. And now we get something that is like, even I wanted to kind of throw my remote through the TV. He sleeps with a married woman.
Well, in
Well, she's not
Jerusalem,
married.
there is no light. There's only
Right.
light between people.
And those rules, they're for everyone else, not for us.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's a night.
I was
It's a
kind of like,
night.
I was like, so we're over the dead wife now. I mean, I get it, Eva Green's there, but it's also like
Flagrant adultery.
we're cool with the adultery now. Like, you know, you were all about sin. I mean, I get it. He's like, Eva Green's here. What am I gonna do?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think I might have liked it better if they didn't go that route, because the whole thing is he is trying to be morally perfect in a place where nobody is. And he's tested again and again, and to a fault, to the point where it's pissing off other characters. He will not budge. And like that, I don't know, it
Yeah.
sells a lot better if you didn't do this.
I'm a little I'm a little confused by his code of morality, right? Where in some cases he's willing to be more practical, right? So the church says, don't burn the bodies, you know, then they can't be resurrected. He says God will understand. Like, let's burn them so we don't all die of disease. But then with like the adultery, he makes an exception because Guy's an asshole. But then later on, like, kill Guy and save everybody, and he won't do it.
Nah.
So I don't like I don't get it. I don't get what
Yeah.
his code
I
is.
think some flirtation, I think, would have worked,
Yeah.
but waiting until after the war for that to come to fruition.
And later on, she tries to kiss him. He's like, no.
Yeah.
You can't keep tempting me. You had sex already.
Yeah.
Like, what are
you
talking
already
about?
failed.
Well,
Yeah.
but that point, that temptation was kiss me and kill Guy.
Yeah, it's
Right.
more to
Yeah.
that.
There was a little more to that kiss.
Yeah, so they end up sleeping together, and I wrote, "This isn't adultery," or I think she says that, right?
Well, she said, first when she's like cleaning his wounds or whatever, or cleaning the dirt off.
Oh,
his
that's what
face.
it is. Yeah.
Just, this isn't adultery. But if it were,
Were,
those rules are not for the people like
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
It's just, come on.
And again, like I said, in real life, he's married to her mother. I doubt that anything like this happened. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think so.
I'm glad. I think that leaving it out, I think, worked.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it works for the movie.
But it might have been really interesting if they put that.
That's in the 4-hour cut.
But 6 hour.
Like Ridley, you should have stuck with that 3-hour cut.
So
Ridley, did you have to show all the scenes?
So the Templars attack a Muslim caravan,
Saracen.
and shit is about to really pop off.
Well, that's where there's a split between the group of the Templars and the other Crusaders.
Yes.
That are fighting for the kingdom. Like, so you have the Kingsmen and the Templars, and it's like, well, now that you did this, those 200,000 guys, they're gonna come after us, and they're gonna hold no quarter. They're gonna level the city and kill all of us.
So this is kind of a real thing that happens. Baldwin goes out and he meets with Saladin. Now, it's never known if they ever actually meet face to face like this in real life, but through proxies or messengers or whatever, they had a good relationship. So I'm fine with the movie giving them this face to face and kind of stretching reality. I think it works for them to kind of have this talk.
Yeah.
And during the siege, this is like a famous story. They have these two towers, right? And I'm not making a Lord of the Rings or a 9/11 joke. This is just the truth. They had these two towers, and when the Muslims were going to the city, they knew a wedding was taking place in one of these towers, and Saladin purposely ordered them not to attack that tower.
Yeah.
And he even sent gifts, like he sent bread and wine to them as like a wedding present.
Saladin was clearly a more honorable leader than most of the time, because not only are there stories like that, but it seems like he has a lot of mercy throughout this whole thing.
I think he understands better than a lot of people at the time statesmanhood,
Mm.
and that like kind of having a good rep will go a long way for like people being willing to surrender and things like that. And in some ways it makes them fighting less, whereas like if every time you show up you're killing everybody to the death,
Yeah.
people can never surrender and they have to fight you longer, which causes you more losses. Plus, this is a Saladin who's been humbled already. He's already lost and had 1/10 of he was down to 1/10 of his army,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So maybe after that, he's like, let me chill out and things will be a little easier.
Yeah.
But they go and talk in the movie. Edward Norton talks him down, and they're like, "Let's make peace on this. We're not going to fight here."
It promises that Reynald is the one who attacked the caravan and started this war. He will be punished.
I'm going to make him kiss my nasty leprosy
right.
hand.
And there's a lot of dramatic weight on the meeting because they basically tell Edward Norton, like, you are in no condition to travel. If you do, you'll die.
Yeah.
So for him, this is important enough that I'm going to spend my remaining life points to go out and meet with the king and talk him down.
An epic scene. I mean,
Yeah.
the 200,000 soldiers from the Arab army there facing off against, and they announce, what is it, Jerusalem is here when the
Yeah.
Christian army arrives, and these two men brokering a deal where they go either way. So epic.
I think it's cool, yeah. And I like diplomacy saves the day there,
Yeah.
you know, and it's like cooler heads prevail. They're able to talk about it. It's like, look, we don't need to do this, you know? I'm going to punish that guy.
So sad, though, that in the movie, this just buys like an hour of peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even wrote this is probably the coolest scene of like horseback I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The scale, the style, the outfits, everything, the lighting, everything was like, wow, this
It
is
was very,
mind-blowing.
we have a lot of people listen to our podcast who are fans of Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. So anytime I see a possible connection, but when the two kings are meeting, it felt very Breaking Bad. They always had those very tense conversations in the desert. A cloud will go over, and I think that happens in the movie here too. But now on top of that, you have each king with a giant army behind
Yeah.
them. Such a great moment.
And you think kind of, because you've been accustomed at this point to these types of movies where when the two armies meet, usually you're expecting a Lord of the Rings battle or, you know, something like that. And here it's like, no, we're just going to talk and,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, there is a battle.
well, it's coming up.
It's before this.
Yeah, the two kings meet after some
the
bloodshed,
battle.
right? Yeah.
So it's
it's after the battle Orlando
Balian-
Bloom is in.
Yeah.
Balian is
Oh, I
there to
fucked up. I'm sorry.
protect the Templar stronghold, which Reynald is in.
Well, all right, we're going to end it there then for our show.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. So if you want to hear the rest, so I fucked up the timeline. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
It is okay.
And on the timeline,
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
this is very offensive to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It is okay.
So it's not chronological order.
I do that all the time where I like get the scenes
You
out
get
of order.
excited. You
Yeah.
get excited.
I thought the Orlando Bloom attack thing happened next, but that's it for us on this one. So we're gonna do our final plugs here, and then we'll continue over on
One
We'll
Take
take one
Podcast.
take. All
We'll
right.
put a link in the description.
yeah, we'll
we'll
link
switch
all
them
that
up, yeah.
stuff. Do you guys want to plug your stuff?
Yeah,
before we
for
go?
sure. So we have the One Take Podcast. That's kind of the side thing we're doing. The main channel is One Take, where I mainly do timelines of very complicated film franchises, usually. Just did one on Final Destination in time for the new movie. You can see the recounting of events in chronological order. But then if you're more into this kind of thing, check out youtube.com/OneTakePodcast.
And it's not just a side thing. I mean, the podcast is it's an attraction on its own.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I don't know why I put it down like that. There's the podcast and there's the channel.
And they're both equal.
All right, pass it over to you
Got
guys.
All right, so
His wrap up's long.
it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Guys,
You sped it up.
this week on Patreon, we're dropping The Future is Now Minority Report. Me and Steve, we're going through all of Minority Report. We're telling you how accurate the science and the technology is in there.
If you like Scanner Darkly, you'll like this one.
Steve may or may not have given it a glow effect like the movie, where it kind of looks the same. We'll see. Like
I did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I didn't
All
do it yet, but I did.
Yeah, he didn't do it yet in our time. So if he didn't do it now in the page, you have to deliver.
I'm delivering.
All right, we'll see.
I got
We did a Scanner Darkly on Patreon recently, and he made it look just like the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pretty fucking cool.
Rotoscope.
Yeah, patreon.com future is now patreon.com/reviewing history. Sign up. You can register for free and just find out what's coming up. And if something tickles your fancy, you could sign up. There's a weekly drop. Follow the show everywhere on all social media at Review History Pod on Twitter, Reviewing History Pod everywhere else. I want to give a big thank you to Tom, Steve, Dave, Brian, Walt, Q, Get 'em, last record down in the studio. We greatly appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, take a penny, leave a penny, all that good stuff. Follow me in person on all social media at Brian Rupert. That's a 2 P's. Follow me on Letterboxd. I rank and review every single movie I watch, even the ones in my personal life. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time over on the One Take Podcast channel. Bye.
Bye.
Man.